Hello and welcome to Last Orders. This is a bit of an experiment, but it's hopefully going to be an interesting space and place because this is the kind of video that, well, it's been suggested to me a few times I should make. It's one without the pomp and ceremony. It's one without the consideration, the editing and everything else. This is what happens after I've finished filming a video, and I often have lots of thoughts and things that never maybe came to mind properly while I was doing it. I'm going to explain in a minute, but basically I've just been reviewing two Guinness Alternatives and ended up reviewing an actual Guinness as a comparator. In it was a Unity Stout collab between Timothy Taylor's and Northern Monk, and a Nitro Stout from Marks and Spencer's own brand, but was brewed in collaboration with Siren. Results of that already available, but long story short, the Unity Stout, not great. The Nitro Stout from M&S, quite good, but seemingly on this day of odd days, not better than the Guinness. Anyway, let's tidy up a bit and sit here, because I thought, you know what, so often I sit here and talk about beer and try and make what is an ultimately entertaining video, right? That is the end goal. Now, it doesn't always work. I'm sure a lot of people say that your videos are not very entertaining, and that's absolutely fine. But in my head, that's what I'm trying to do. I've already forgotten which beer is which, but no, that's the Northern Monk, so that must be that one. That's the Guinness. Anyway, this is an opportunity for me to talk about not just the beers we've reviewed, but anything and everything that comes to my mind in a space where I don't have to be worried about telling a story, the narrative, the editing, and everything else. By narrative, I don't mean a pre-planned opinion. I mean trying to make what I've said before make sense in hindsight, so it just doesn't come across as a heap of drivel. I'm still trying to get you to the right, honest opinion in the end, but I'm just being slightly formulaic about how I get there. That's not this. This is something else. This is me waffling properly and with no edits. If you see a cut in this, it's because I desperately need to go for a pee after sampling 3 different pints. It's not an edited, curated session. If I start mumbling and fumbling my words, it's probably going to get remained in. There you go, prime example. But yeah, funny old thing. So, Guinness Alternatives. And this is a weird day because honestly, and I said it in that video, this pint of Guinness right now is one of the most flavourful, the richest, Why is it so good? This can goes out of date this year on the 4th of December. For full disclosure, date of recording, 8th of October. It's not a fresh can by any means. Probably been in my fridge for 3 months or so. It's brilliant. I can't tell you how good it is. And I'm slightly worried on the whole Guinness Alternatives thing. And I'd be interested to hear from people who are following the kind of craft beer movement in the late noughties, because I've alluded to it many times, I've said it many times. I have been into alternative beer, i.e. not your mainstream lagers, for a very long time. In fact, since before I was legally allowed to drink them, which is unusual, for sure. But for many reasons, you get influenced by your parents, by people around you, whatever. I was very much of the opinion that dark beer was better than all of the forms of beer. And I still nearly hold that opinion, except for the fact that I've realised that actually German lager might be the greatest form of beer. We can argue about that another time, but in general, certainly by traditional British brewing standards, I do feel like dark beer is the best one. It's not just best about what you're tasting there and then. It's about the whole experience. So an IPA can give you this intense, hugely salivating, just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's verging on kind of taste bud euphoria, right? Which I think is what people hunt a lot of the time. It's that initial smack. It's sweet, it's bitter, it's juicy, it's pithy, it's dank as hell. Like, it's going to be really something big, and it feels like an event when you're drinking it. And that's true. More so than most dark beers. There's some imperial stouts that do it, but in general, a darker trad beer is just a lot more chill, a lot more laid back. But the problem is that intensity, that rush, that spike, I can see two problems, to be honest. One is that in that moment, you can go through that pint, and one or two things is going to happen. You're either going to have the mental thing that I get, which is, I couldn't possibly drink any more of this. My body has been pushed to its flavour extremes, and you know what? I'm done, I'm out. And of course, after that, every other beer or any other beer that isn't as flavourful is going to feel like a disappointment. It's all going to feel watery. Also, in addition to that, you end up kind of in the situation the industry ended up in anyway, which was, you find the one thing that feels like the biggest, most impressive, euphoric, flavourful thing in an IPA, and someone makes it, and then the next person goes, well, I better beat that. And you end up in what is basically a hops arms race, which I'm not a fan of, I have to say. Because it doesn't lead anywhere good. Extremes are rarely good long term. I'm ultimately very keen on, and this is a rare state of affairs we find ourselves in, where I'm about to congratulate Brewdog for doing something right. Now, I'm about to congratulate. That's what happens normally when I go and edit. I just start stumbling over my words and I'll cut it out. But no, it's staying in. I'm going to go try and congratulate them on something they did right in about 2010 to 12, which was when they opened their Brewdog bars. Now, they were very instrumental in effectively ruining the pale beer scene, as I see it. But one thing they did do was when they opened their bars, they went, what's the most ridiculous experience we can give someone? And they went, we'll try and brew the strongest beer in the world, to coin a phrase. And they did that with things like Tactical Nuclear Penguin. It's like a 40% ale. It's ridiculous. It's not ale at that point. It's a spirit that happens to vaguely be represented by an ale. Okay, maybe it's not been distilled in the same way, but ultimately the enjoyment and the way you go about seeing it is a spirit, not a beer. But anyway. But what they did was, because of its ABV ultimately, so maybe we shouldn't give them the props, it was only available in very small measures. It was an aside to you drinking a more generic, more balanced, more sessionable option, which, talking about Brewdog opening their bars and sessionable beers seems a bit ironic, really, because a lot of it certainly wasn't, but you get the idea. What I'm proposing is really, when people go out their way and let's do silly, let's not sell it in thirds, let's not sell it in whatever. Let's have it as a novelty behind the bar. Let's do shots. I can't believe I'm saying that in my verging on late 30s, but yeah, maybe when you see the real big IPAs and the big impy stouts, maybe we're thinking about this wrong. Maybe it should be a short, maybe not a shot, maybe a short delivered. Maybe it should be done in, 50ml measures, so that you can sit there and sip it and appreciate the flavours and the complexity and the nuance of the craziness, not having so much of it that whatever happens next will feel like a disappointment, because, as I say, that's how you end up in that weird hops arms race that I think has honestly just ruined beer in the UK for the last 15 years. Now, That's not to say I was a big fan of what was happening with beer in the UK before that. Certainly, trad brewers before that were making better quality beer than they are now. But is that because they've had to become even cheaper compared to their modern craft counterparts to feel like a possible option going forward? I don't know. I'm not really sure how we ended up reviewing 3 pints of Guinness and me waffling on about an IPA arms race, but here we are. Another point in these videos, by the way, again, it's just no editing, no music, just me and the beers and my thoughts after the fact. I'm going to sit through all of them. Oh, that's interesting. Come back to a thought in a moment. When I open these, and these are in the wrong order as they're represented, like that, which you can't quite see. The M&S Nitro Stout, this one, poured the worst. Look, very thin, very flat, very just unappealing. And its body remained good, but had a bit bleh, the whole thing. However, when I poured the Guinness, obviously we know what Guinness is like. This is a particularly good pint, so it felt big, rich, creamy, on the money. And if I give it a swirl round, it still is. But the sip I just took on this M&S Siren Nitro was, yeah, I think the body on that retains its, I'm not going to say excellence, but its preferableness more than either of the others over a duration. It's been opened a lot longer than the Guinness, and well, that sip of Guinness without swirling it around in the glass was frankly disappointing compared to what I said just 10 minutes ago. So, yeah, interesting one. Do I have any more thoughts about these? Normally what happens is I stop recording, I sit down and I start sipping. I'm thinking about editing the video. I transfer the files over from my camera to my computer and, just make a start. And I think, oh, you know what? I really should have said X, Y, Z. That would have made much more sense. It makes, it's how I really feel right now. And of course, because I've been thinking about what to say, it hasn't happened. But no, this is staying level pegging. I just realised the way I got onto that rant about IPAs, that will probably be quite a frequent occurrence in these last orders videos. But I worry that the same thing is going to happen with Guinness rivals to an extent, in that we are just going to plough after that as the next big thing. Breweries have become very, how dare I say this, Microsoft in their business approach, which is do the obvious logical business strategy, i.e. sell what we think people need and what will definitely sell easily tomorrow, that's not trying to make the thing that people didn't realise they wanted, which is kind of the Apple approach. Now, we can have an argument about Apple as a separate thing, but you get the idea. They aren't... Craft beer felt revolutionary 10 to 15 years ago. Now it feels very accountant driven, which is a disappointing thing to say, and that's quite evident in these beers. If I'm honest, they could have definitely done something bigger, more looks, whatever. Of course, there are supermarket offerings, supermarkets bringing their own issues in there. But I think the biggest difference, and I'm astounded that no one's got this yet, as I just sit here looking at it. 1 second, let me... the fridge is actually there, like it's under the camera a bit. I need a 440ml can just to show something. Hello. Are we 440 now? Yes, you are. This is one of those UK fest beers that I reviewed last week. 440ml can. 440ml can. 440ml can. You'll notice that the Guinness can is taller. And that's not by mistake. And Guinness do this and Splash and Hob Day do this. And I think Campervan up in, I don't know if they are, I want to say Leith, they're Scottish anyway. Maybe they're Glasgow. But they use bigger cans for 440ml for Nitro Stouts because it means you can get more nitro flushing into the top, and you simply do need more nitrogen than you can pack into a standard 440ml can while still having 440ml of beer in it, because obviously the can is slightly bigger than 440ml just to make sure. Excuse me. But yeah, I'm astounded that, to be honest, both of these, I haven't realised that yet. The pour on the M&S one was poor. The pour was poor. And I'm astounded by that because it's a collab with Siren, who of course make the, I said it in the video, Broken Dreams, Breakfast Nitro Stout, whatever it is. Big sweet job. But I'm sure that can is bigger. And even if it's not, they've worked out a way to make that pour properly. That really cascades, like it's a proper Nitro Stout, that, no question about it. And that was all just a bit disappointing. So some food for thought there. Let's say this isn't a general video. I'm not going to ask you for your opinions. Please give them if you want to, by the way, and I will definitely respond. But you know what I mean. This is an extra. This is for the people who want a bit more knowledge, and hopefully a space that I can be a bit more me in a weird way. It's not that this me you see in other videos isn't me, because it is, but it's me whilst I'm thinking about what I'm saying, what the edit's going to look like, and making sure it's kind of a coherent message. This is not that. This is me waffling on like I would to any of my mates down the pub. And well, congratulations today, you are my mate down the pub. And I think I'm going to leave it there. So if you enjoyed this little waffle, let me know in the comments. There you go. I said I wasn't going to ask you for anything, but I do need to know if this format works and you're interested. Because if you are, I'll keep it going. If not, I'll stay stum. But that is everything. Have a fantastic week, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.